I'm Dr. Priyanka. I am basically a gynecologist, but I am, really now thinking towards how can I just, treat the physical aspects of a woman's health. When the root cause sometimes, whether it is for men or women, is more into the mind-body connection and more holistic. Like you're talking about, health and happiness. Sometimes we don't seek health or happiness. Sometimes we are looking more towards, when I become unhappy, I will take care of myself. When I become sad, then let me, take care of myself. When I'm unhealthy, let me not stay healthy. So staying healthy, staying happy, staying fulfilled, that is a journey which sometimes we have a health setback and then we look towards health, and sometimes some of us are more aware of it, and then we, both mind and body, we start looking for it. So I thought, let's start. October is a month which is, we in India we celebrate Dussehra for new beginnings. We sometimes we even have Diwali during October, where again you're ushering in joy and wealth and happiness. We celebrate Halloween. We also have, the fall and the winter collections are starting, and we are getting ready for a new season. So I thought this is a time, Pink October is a time when this talk is not going to be a talk where I'm going to be giving you a lecture on whatever, topic it is. It's Pink October is a theme, but it also extrapolates to health and wellness throughout the year, right? Not just on New Year's Eve I make a resolution, follow it for 10 days and then I forget about it till I get into some, issues like that. So Pink October, as we were talking even last week about breast cancer screening, how this Pink October started more than 25 years back now, because we want to bring in more awareness to women about what the theme says about breast cancer awareness, because we all think, okay, when breast cancer, it is only for women, I'm not going to get it, it is only women who have the family history of breast cancer will have that, or I'm a man, I don't need to worry about breast cancer, or I'm too young, I don't need to worry about breast cancer. But sadly, there are certain risks which happen, which we cannot change. Say for example, being female. So you are a female, you have breasts, there could be a chance that you develop breast cancer, or women in your family who may have this. And if we are one up in the game, we are staying ahead of the disease, we are able to find out the problem at an earlier stage, survival is better, we do well, we do much better if we find out the problem earlier. Aging again is something which is something that you cannot reverse. That is something which is part of growing up, and as we age, the risk is going to increase. In fact, you'll be seeing a lot of 1 in 8 in the papers nowadays. So a woman has a lifetime risk of 1 in 8 women could develop breast cancer, but this kind of happens over a lifetime. So it is, say, 1 in 100 when you're younger, 1 in 800 when you're younger, and then the number decreases. So just that, being a woman, getting older, we have to be aware of what we need to do as breast self-exam, as we spoke last week, and also the mammogram test and the other screening tests that you could do. But interestingly, even men can develop, breast cancer. And why is that so? Because when we were babies, when we were fetuses, up to around 7 to 8 weeks, we were all females. And only after 8 weeks, we start to differentiate between either a boy or a girl. So men also have the same embryonic origins to talk about, and there is a risk in men also of around, say, 1.3 in 100,000, where they could have the risk of breast cancer. So they also need to be aware of it. We talk about family history, so it's not only the females in your family, there could also be cancers in the male side, so that also, or your father's side, if your father's sister or some other female relative or male relative on your father's side has had cancer, that also could increase your risk. And then we know about these BRCA, BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes, which are present in certain people, percentage I will talk about later. So think about your family tree, and these are the risks that you probably cannot change. Of course, there are these other red flags which you should be aware of in your family if there is any kind of family history of even other cancers like the colon cancer or the pancreatic cancer. Now I would like to ask you what percentage, so we all think that breast cancer is going to happen to somebody who has a family history, but when I spoke about the gene which is linked to the cancer, only 5 to 10% of the women who develop, of all the women who develop breast cancer, only 5 to 10% have a family history. So a big 95% of women actually do not have a family history. That means any one of us could be susceptible. If you look at this slide, what percentage of women, that means, have nobody in their family who's had breast cancer before? It is more than 87 to 90%. So almost 87 to 90% of people who get breast cancer, there is no family history. So that means it could just be anybody. So what do? Do we worry about it? Do we think that there is nothing that you can do, or okay, let me see when it happens to me, right? So that is also an approach where ignorance is that's the biggest symptom. When I just try to stay ignorant, even though I have, the problem is right in front of, under my nose, I can just say this will not happen to me, right? So that could be another way of looking at it. And what is it that you can change? So we are in a city where we have a lot of options for getting into all kind of ill health, because you name it, you have a million apps to get food, you have food everywhere, you have so much of, exposure to even environmental toxins and things like that. So again, there are two ways to look at it. Okay, I will probably just ignore what any doctor says, because I will again take care of my, or we think, okay, let me worry about hypertension or diabetes and these things, because these are more common. But the focus is that all of these new age lifestyle problems, including anger, including your IBS, including autism, including breast cancer, hypertension, diabetes, these are all metabolic problems which have come up only now recently, over maybe 10 to 20 years. If you ask your grandparents, if you ask people who lived 30 to 50 years back, I don't think, there are all these new diseases and new problems that we are facing nowadays, and all of that is related to, and what is it that, are we able to control any of these? Are these under our control? Yes, would you agree? Diet, alcohol, exercise, obesity, HRT, environmental toxins, of which we sometimes don't even know how much of toxins we are taking in, and of course emotional stress. So let us look at it one by one. Of course, when we look at certain kind of risks, so as women we hear about this hormone called estrogen. Interestingly, men also have estrogen. It's not that only women have estrogen. Men have estrogen, and testosterone is the main hormone for them, and for women have estrogen, but women also have testosterone. So it is just a balance and imbalance, and that whole system is the endocrine system, which takes care of all of our hormones. And then there's something interesting called the IGF, or insulin growth factor, which helps us grow, which helps us build our muscle, which helps us build our bodybuilding and all of that. But this is also something which, when it becomes in excess, that can actually start something like cancer. So if you keep that under control, you can actually even reverse cancer or prevent yourself from getting some kind of cancer. And then the other things just happen. So you have a cell which is sitting quietly, like we are all made up of, when you talk about what are we made up of, we are all made up of these millions and billions and trillions of cells, and each cell has its own. You have the brain cell, you have the muscle cell, you have the cells inside you. But each cell is normally programmed to, the cell has a life, it originates, it lives its life, it dies, and then you have a new cell replacing it. Just like our nails grow and then it's basically dead skin, we shed our skin and all of that, hair loss happens every day. So that is new cells coming in and old cells going out. But what happens in a cancer is basically these cells just keep growing because there is too much of this IGF growth factor, and then they just grow and grow. So if you look at, you have this abnormal growth which just keeps going on. And how does it grow? It grows because there could be a reason by which this cancer cell has started growing, but if we give it a nice soil to grow more, then it just grows and grows into huge proportions, so that probably a cancer growth or a cancer beginning of a size of, say, a sugar cube could contain 1 billion cells. That's how it grows. So who's growing it? I wouldn't blame the cancer, I would blame ourselves, because we are giving a nice nutrition, and we are giving a good nourishment, and then this cell which is sitting there alone multiplies, gets its friends, gets new blood vessels to form, it kind of, and something called inflammation, which we are hearing about now after COVID, right? COVID is just any other virus. Coronaviruses have been there for like millions and billions of years. Then what suddenly happened? It mutated in such a way that it, just took us unawares, and our immunities also were low over a period of time. We stopped thinking about our immune system. We probably, ourselves went down the other way, where we, without knowing or unknowingly, just killed our own immunity, and then all of this free radical formation, and I will talk about it more. So this is what happens even when you get this COVID infection. Body is reacting to it. The first 1 week you have fever, you're fighting it. But when your fight becomes out of control, you have all these immune system dysfunction happens, you have free radical forming, and then that attacks your own cells, and then for COVID the lungs got affected, and that's how a simple cold or a simple common cold like an infection became so severe. The world stopped because of that, isn't it? So chronic diseases like cancers or diabetes or hypertension don't happen in a day, but the main pathology behind it is, that's what happens. So we can just say that there are also people who eat healthy, who manage everything well, and they also can get cancer. That also happens, but that is probably an outlier group of 5 to 10%. But 80 to 90% are the group of people whom, depending on what you eat or you don't eat, you can make the difference. Depending on what you do or you don't do can make a lot of difference to how your health is going to be. And like I told you, it is just this one cell which can just grow into 1 billion if you are going to give the right ingredients, and if you are not going to allow that cancer cell to grow, that is where the prevention can happen. You have a stress situation, you have a cancer which is starting, or it could just be an argument between you and me. We have an argument, we come together, we talk about it one to one, it's over. But if you go to WhatsApp and you message each other, or I want to put you down, I go to a WhatsApp group where both of us are, and I put you down in that, and then that's what is happening nowadays, isn't it? Nowadays nobody is directly talking one to one. Hey Brinda, I have an issue with you, come let's talk about it. No, Brinda and me are in one common group. Somebody who is supervising her is there. I put her down in that group, and then it's just, it grows like cancer. So what do we need? Because the food that we eat, are you eating healthy food? What did you have for breakfast today?
Brown bread.
Brown bread?
Olive oil.
With olive oil, okay.
Skipped breakfast.
Skipped breakfast, thank you for being honest.
Dosa.
Dosa with?
With chai.
With chai, okay. What were you? Same, okay, fine. So by the end of this session, I'm just going to give you some magic mantra so that you can have your bread, you can have nothing at all, you can have dosa, but you will be equipped with, very simple. I am not talking rocket science, because if I talk rocket science, I don't know rocket science, and also if I talk rocket science, you will sleep off or you will just walk out of the door. So I just want to bring simple solutions, because like even Samir says, life is easy, be complicated, isn't it? So we have a lot of free radicals all across, and we are all wise, intelligent people. But when it comes to somebody giving us a lecture about our health, we are like, That's what my daughters will tell you. Mommy, don't start again, please. I don't want to listen to your lecture. But I am just sharing one simple slide today. We are going to be living in stress. Till we are alive, we are going to have stress. Is there anybody here who doesn't live with stress? Even waking up in the morning sometimes is stressful. Sleeping at night is stressful. Getting through the day can be stressful. And if you're working, being a homemaker is the most stressful job on earth, and you're not even paid for it. You just get hugs sometimes. That's all, isn't it? All you get are hugs, and sometimes you get thank yous, sometimes you get appreciation, most of the times you don't, isn't it? That's stress. So stress is going to be there all the time, every time, whether you're breathing and whatever you do. So what are these antioxidants, and what are we talking about today? So we are talking about headache, take a paracetamol. What do you say? You have a running nose, take a cetirizine. You can't sleep, take a sleeping pill. That is just, if there is a leak in your, we are all having air conditioners, isn't it? You have a leak, you just put some M-seal or some sealant. You have another leak, just put a sealant there. Getting the entire apparatus out, cleaning it and maintaining it, no leak. So I'm sure we all do the maintenance for that also. We have maintenance for air conditioner, maintenance for the car, maintenance for your mobile phone also, maintenance for each and everything. Somebody maintains our homes every day. If we don't clean our homes every day, what's going to happen? You can't live there. If you don't clean your own system every day, maybe 1 or 2 days you can manage, but then. So we have to now move from just popping medicine and pills to making food as medicine. Once you make food as medicine, you actually don't need any kind of medicine. There are so many phytonutrients as we talk about. And I'm not going to be talking to you, forcing you to change yourself into a plant-based diet totally or become vegan or this and that. That is absolutely your own individual choice. But how do we add some value to the food? So this is what I was talking about, the IGF or the insulin-like growth factor. This is a normal phenomenon when we grow older. There is a tiny little thing here which is the pituitary. It releases the growth hormone. Growth hormone will help the liver to form this IGF or insulin-like growth factor, and that helps us to grow. But when there is an imbalance and when that happens in excess, then we have a problem. Okay. So what is it that we can control? We definitely have the power to control, and what we are eating is what we can control. And once we are able to have some kind of a control and balance in that, trust me, you will never need to visit a doctor ever again. Okay, just for some kind of information, we do have a lot of, so you have heard about processed food and food that is not, made by you, nutrition and all of that. So in fact, the WHO has recently announced that, and especially when we talk about processed food, it is food that is nowadays readily available, ready to cook food, and we all use it. We all have it because it's easier and it's convenient. And cooking food or making food is sometimes very cumbersome because we are all pressed for time nowadays. But then this processed food or processed meat, red meat, has been announced by the WHO to be carcinogenic, and this is absolutely available everywhere on Google. But because it has not become a pandemic, which is very acute, we are kind of ignoring it. Okay, this is not happening, and nothing is happening to me in a day. I'm not going to be admitted in the hospital by eating processed food or processed meat or red meat. So let me just continue with what I am doing. Okay, we talk about fish. So is fish okay? Again, you need to basically understand whatever you are eating, what is the source, right? Where is it coming from? If it has been, so we talk about fish. If you have frozen fish which has been stored, again there can be all of these microplastics and dioxins and all of that. So some time back, one US based company, I would not like to name any companies, US based company making food grade plastic boxes, very popular, all houses were having that, and even now I'm sure many people are using it. But then whatever you say, plastic is plastic, and once you store food in it, all of that dioxins and all of that unhealthy particles do enter the food, and if you heat that again in that plastic container, you're actually doing more harm to yourself, and then we call this endocrine system that gets disrupted. So then that is called the endocrine disruptor, and then your body doesn't know which hormone is coming from the body and which hormone is made from this plastic and all of that, and that can cause a lot of harm. So fish, again, if you're eating, or even if you're eating whatever organic chicken, it has again been found out that there could be some contamination. So identify the source of your food very carefully when you have to, because what happens is many of the meat and dairy products, they need, when they are sourcing it from the animals, they need to make sure that we hear of antibiotic free and all of that, but then arsenic is again used in the poultry feed so that it is kept, that feed is not getting contaminated, and when that traces of all that arsenic can also go into your whatever you're eating, chicken or meat or fish. So understand that the feed that, so what is the source of your protein, the source of your chicken is again very important. So where do I get my protein from if I am going to be turning towards? So basically what you are controlling is diet, some amount of exercise, which even as we talk about either Ayurveda, those are the 4 pillars, isn't it? Your food, sleep, rest, relaxation, and your activity that you are doing. So there are different ways in which you can source your protein, or you can add on this kind of stuff into your daily. So you have your dosa, you're having it with tea, you could probably add in fruit every day, or nowadays on YouTube everybody is like, what I eat in a day, isn't it? You have all these film stars or sports people putting in what I eat in a day, but sometimes who is going to make a quinoa salad for you in the morning? May not be possible. So what can I do at my level? I can just probably start my day. So another question again to everybody, how do you start your day?
It was warm water.
Warm water with anything added to it, or just
Sometimes lemon juice.
lemon juice?
Coffee.
Coffee, black, white, black, okay. How many mls? Big cup? Varies? Lot, okay. What about you?
Cup of tea with khakra or something.
Okay, what about you? Water with turmeric? Okay, is it warm water or how is it? Normal water, okay. So basically see, tea or coffee is something which we all have made ourselves, feel that yes, we need it, otherwise we can't wake up. But a very good way to start your day is have your tea or coffee, but probably have it 3 or 4 hours later. But maybe sometimes with age also you change, or you mature, or you understand. So it's a habit, exactly. So I also start my day with warm water, but nowadays I have started post-COVID, or during COVID probably, started adding some seeds to it. Okay, so just roast seeds and just keep it, chia or flax or whatever. And these are, so I was myself being a medical doctor, I was not aware of seeds probably 2 years back. So you do advise people, but when it comes to doing it yourself, sometimes even we don't follow it sometimes, because again lack of time, you're running and you're doing so many things, and then you're like, okay, let me do it, or you buy it, you keep it safe somewhere and you forget about it, or you keep it in a box also, but you're in a hurry always. So again, like talk about habits. So maybe small changes in the habits every day can make a difference. And an apple a day, the saying, the other apple is important, yes, but again apple, tomatoes and all of these colored fruits and vegetables are also really good, in which they are packed with antioxidants. So when our mothers used to give us an apple, sometimes even when you give apple to your kids or your, they're like, I don't want it. But then apple is again something which is rich in antioxidant, and you could have that too. Cruciferous vegetables of all kinds, broccoli, of course we shouldn't overheat them and overcook them, because when you overcook them, then all these antioxidants which we are talking about are not there. So either raw sprouts, Brussels sprouts, or you could just steam them and have your own meal plan, in which in the week maybe 2 or 3 days you can't eat everything every day. So have a meal plan, and you should definitely add these into your diet. Garlic, again, garlic and onion, which we do a lot in different cooking when we do it, but again when you brown it too much or you overcook it, garlic again is something which has something called allicin, and this product gets activated only when you either crush it or cut it, okay, and then you leave it, and then that allicin again has anti-inflammatory properties. If you don't like the smell of garlic, you can probably have it even at night, but or maybe half a garlic, that little clove, half of that, and that again is going to be a good weapon as an anti-inflammatory. Berries, again, they are superfoods. So of course we are talking about eat local, so just make sure that, because sometimes to increase the shelf life, so make sure you're looking at the expiry and how long back they've been packed. So berries again are superfoods, they are packed with nutrients, and this is what I was talking about. So you have flaxseed, chia seed. These seeds are not only rich in omega-3 fatty acids, also they are a good source of protein. So of course not more than maybe 1 teaspoon per day. You can roast and keep it, and if you have it with something which is again fatty, like some time back people used to say that fat is bad, but then now we talk about healthy fats. So healthy fats are all about like your yogurt or curd, especially homemade curd or homemade yogurt. If you can put the seeds into this, again it is going to be packed with lot of vitamins, with omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-6 and omega-9 are fatty acids which we get with our regular oil that we use, but omega-3 fatty acid again is an antioxidant, which is also going to help prevent your heart problem and all the other heart diseases, your hypertension. So omega-3 fatty acid, a very good source. Flax seeds, again, what these do is that you are eating your junk processed food and all of that, which probably has a lot of artificial estrogen into it. So when you talk about chicken, or you talk about even eggs, you have a lot of unwanted chemicals and preservatives added to it. But when you take a diet which is rich in fiber, it's going to absorb all of that, and then it goes out of your system. So you're not absorbing all of that kind of unwanted preservative food, or all the toxins which are there inside it, because there is again a lot of talk now about the gut immunity, the gut microbiome, the good bacteria, the bad bacteria. In fact, I'm sure nowadays there is a talk even about how the diseases of the mind can be treated by a healthy gut, right? So we would love to hear more from you about that, because if your gut is healthy, 70 to 80% of your immunity is taken care of that way. If your gut is healthy, similarly your mind is more clear. Whereas when we are loading ourselves with a lot of sugar, with a lot of unhealthy food, there is more of brain fog, because then what is happening, you feel sad, grab a chocolate, sugar goes up, serotonin goes up, happy hormone goes up, you feel really good, especially if you are in your PMS or you have had a fight with your friend. Me and Vrinda have a fight, I get angry, I grab a bar of chocolate, I feel really good, okay, fine. As soon as the sugar goes up, serotonin goes up, and then it just comes crashing down, and then you feel, you feel worse, and you feel guilty also that I ate so much of sugar. So fiber again is really good. So you could also incorporate chia seeds, and you could even powder it, put it on your salads, sprinkle it on your dosa, and that will help you. Maybe you can put it in your coffee also and see. So have this at your bedside. Again, soya, tofu in different ways. As women age also, and even as men age, there is something called menopause, there is something called andropause too. So soya again has lot of anti-inflammatory properties, and including in your diet. So again, source is important, because if the source is not, if there is contamination at source again, then people are worried about soya having phytoestrogens, and these phytoestrogens again, when the levels are high, so they also can be harmful. But if you source your soya, your tofu from a good reliable source, then that can be an addition. Mushrooms again are really good and healthy. And in the West now, there is this curcumin is something which is people are talking about so much. You have curcumin capsules and tablets, and especially after COVID, immunity boosters. Everybody is trying different kind of immunity boosters, right? But my learning has been that whatever you do, as natural as it gets, is the best thing. So you are making pancakes. You can try adding some turmeric into it and see how the taste is even enhanced, and also your anti-inflammatory. And for curcumin, which is the active ingredient of turmeric, always this I learned during COVID, add a little bit of pepper also whenever you're adding turmeric to anything, because the bioavailability, the absorption is almost 300% more. So that's why in my kitchen also now, where the turmeric box is, the pepper container is also next to it, so that you remember. So again, these are very important, very small changes that you can bring on to your diet, so that you are keeping not only cancer away, you're also keeping all kind of metabolic diseases. Seaweed again is a good source of anti-inflammatory ingredients. Inositol is something which, these are again small capsules are available of inositol, but even for women's health and hormone, all of these peppers, red pepper, yellow pepper and bell peppers, they have these compounds called inositol, which again are good and helpful. And of course dark chocolate. So we also have the Dubai Health Challenge. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's round the corner on 29th. So probably this is the time, the resolution that we were making in January, but we forgot about it throughout the year, right? So just let's all sign up for that. 30 minutes for 30 days. Seems a lot, is it? So we could do it, yeah. So just 30 minutes of exercise if you can do. So again, when you are doing this regular exercise, that also kind of it again not only what it does is it will improve your insulin resistance, as we say, lowers the insulin in the body, and you're also hungry. Again, exercise is very good for the serotonin, dopamine and all of those other hormones which help us stay happy. Smoking again is a risk factor which we need to talk about. So I think this is just a time to start the conversation. COVID is over, now I don't need to worry about my health, now I don't need to worry about my immunity, but the other problems do stay. And when you are in your, we talk about human potential here, we talk about mindfulness, we talk about health, we talk about happiness. But if physically we are not healthy or hearty or taking care of ourselves, both mind and body, sometimes it is hard to stay happy. So when you talk about happiness, what is your definition of happiness? But then if whatever I have spoken to you over the past 30 minutes, if you can just sprinkle in a little bit more of magic into say what you're eating or what you're doing, or if you can just today go order this flax and chia online and start adding it from tomorrow into your your tea also, you can take it, or you can just have it with yogurt. That means that's a small little change that has happened, and you will see the difference. Anything, or we can just have a, so I'm sure then you are following more of a very healthy kind of a diet. So what do you do for health in your day-to-day? For all of us, I think the common theme, and that's the reason why we are here, is that you want to preserve your health, you want to stay healthy, because we all want to, as we age also, or as we want to stay disease free and stay healthy, both in mind, in body, in spirit, and all of that. So for water, that's what probably maybe you can, so what I do is have bought 2 special bottles, steel ones, big ones, keep it in front, and maybe every time you forget, when you look at the color of your pee itself, it's like, okay, this is not white in color, I have to drink more water, isn't it? So because in the desert, yes, and otherwise also because we are in the air condition all the time, we need more water. Waking up early, waking up late, yes, that always, but one thing is, the longer you stay awake, more than 12 midnight is a time when the body's cortisol, is getting high, and you want that to, when that's high, if you are asleep, then that's better. Otherwise, over a period of time, that kind of a stress also, leads on to aging, leads on to all these problems. That's true. And of course, dance is an amazing, that's again one of my good habit too, because I discovered Zumba a few years back, and that is like so good. So engaging in any kind of, because you're all motivated people, I can understand. Having tea in the morning is not a bad habit. Maybe you can probably have this warm water and then give a gap, and then slowly you will, you'll become so full with that warm water, and those chia and flax seeds actually swell up when they go inside. So then that's how I got rid of my, habit of tea, and then it becomes like, okay, it's not a habit, but of course, it's not going to do any harm to you. So thank you all. The purpose was just to remind ourselves. So you all know, you would be having at least 5 or 10 women in your circle. So October means start breast self-exam from the age of 20. Breast self-exam can be done very easily every month after your period is over, or fix a date for breast self-exam, because 8 out of 10 cancers which are detected by women who have examined themselves and found it. And there are modalities, there are techniques. Last week we discussed about mammogram, we discussed about ultrasound. Mammogram is a test which we start from the age of 40. It's a simple X-ray. You just have to go to this small little room, there will be a staff nurse, female nurse, she will do the mammogram for you. There will be a slight compression, it's not painful, it may sometimes just be a little uncomfortable because you think it is uncomfortable. I have had 3 to 4 mammograms till now. Every year I try to do it in March, so that I remember in March I have to do it. When I go for it, I'm scared, because I'm like, what if something comes out? What if this happens? What if? And then they say you have dense breast, you have this, you have that, so many things. You yourself do the search, then okay, what percentage and all of that. But when you do, you're at least secured for a year, okay, because when you detect something earlier, the treatment, like you say, is, and the growth starts almost even 6 to 7 years before a mammogram can detect it. So your self-exam may not pick up problems earlier. So 20 years breast self-exam, at 30 years find your risk, talk to your doctor about your risk. From 40 up to the age of 75, 80 also, annual mammogram is a must. And of course, people are worried about radiation and all of that, but trust me, one X-ray is equal to 1 week of radiation. We are in a room sitting with all kind of Wi-Fi and all. Nowadays you have this mobile towers and so much of radiation in the environment. So one chest X-ray is equal to a week of background radiation. One mammogram is equal to maybe 1 month of 2 months of radiation, which we are already getting in the environment. So don't have to worry about the radiation. And thank you so much for being here, for sharing your time, for sharing this space with me, and for also sharing your thoughts, and maybe all these micro habits, if we can, whatever we want to, change it from. They talk about 21 days. I would just say sometimes it takes just 2 weeks or maybe even 3 days.